Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com to watch Inside the Zone. Blake Sabring on the News Sentinel joining us to talk some Komets hockey. And Blake, a weird week schedule-wise for the Komets, but they play well really in both of those games. A Tuesday morning game, they win against Brampton, and then at home against Quad City on Saturday night. Taking a look back at what they did this past week, what do you think were some of the biggest keys, and what do you think they've done well that they can continue moving forward?
Well, we've been talking lately about they need to get off to better starts, and they've really done that the last 2 weeks. Because we talked about how the second period seemed to be their hot period of late. Well, they've really gotten off to much better first 10 minutes of games in the first period, even on the road. They really got off to a great start in Brampton. And I didn't think they got off to a great start. They got, in fact, it was a lousy start Saturday night at home against Quad City, but Pat Nagel kept them in, and then they just kept grinding.
When you take a look at the moves this week, these are when people start to kind of figure out their roster and make some moves that will impact long-term, maybe playoff moves. The Komets obviously coming up with a big one today. Talk a little bit about the signing with a guy that Komets fans should be very familiar with.
Yeah, Paul Crowder makes them instantly better because Gary Graham's system is all based on puck possession, and Paul's one of the best face-off guys around. I mean, he's just amazing that way. Even if he doesn't do anything else, and he will, he's going to make them 10% better right there just on face-offs.
When you take a look at his skill set, I don't think Komets fans got a true test, or true taste, I should say, of what he could do because he was battling an ankle injury for a
high
good
ankle sprain,
yeah.
which those things are a bear.
You never know how long that's going to last. It seems like it lasts longer than anyone predicts. And
the
lingering effects.
High ankle sprain is where you take your ankle and it goes, normal ankle sprain, you roll it under. This goes the other way, and they take forever to heal.
Yeah. So, he had a good season the year before he joined the Komets in Cincinnati. He played very well in France. What are they getting at a guy? Because, yeah, he's a veteran, but he has the good size that maybe they could use, especially at the center position.
The one thing I noticed in the locker room Saturday night is I'm looking up at everybody. At the start of the season, Sean Sadlowski was like average size. And now he's looking up at everybody. He's like the second or third smallest guy on the team. They are huge right now. And that doesn't even count Justin Hamonic, who's in San Antonio, or Garrett Thompson, who's in San Antonio. I mean, you bring those guys back, and it's like, holy crap, are they going to be big? They can really, if they choose, grind teams down. But like Jamie Shasman said, they're still a skill team. They're still a good skating team. They haven't lost any of that. So, but bringing Paul in, Paul's 6'3". And Paul is not a banger, but he's really good at using his body well and positioning himself. So and he's got a long reach. You just can't get it away from him. And that's going to be interesting to see, too. I would really like to see him and Garrett Thompson play on a line because you may never get the puck back. I mean, those two are so good at all their tricks of keeping you shielded away from the puck. It'd be interesting.
And one thing we were talking about offset before the show is adding Paul Crowder to your roster allows you to move some other guys and allow the pieces to fit perhaps a little bit better than they would right now.
Well, and we wondered why they moved Nikita Kashersky last week, and now this is why. They had to open up a roster spot, a veteran spot, and a center spot for Paul. Okay, I think everybody would make that deal. I mean, Nikita was great while he was here. He was a revelation, and he really helped get him through a rough spot. But I would take Paul every day of the week over that. And Nikita's a good player still. And he got to go home to Reading, which was cool for him, too. But you got 5 inches bigger, and you got better on the face-offs. And Nikita was very good on face-offs, but Paul's just great on face-offs. And Paul really works with other guys to help them get better on face-offs, too. Plus, you got another leader. He was the assistant captain last year. And Paul's one of those guys, it doesn't matter if he's wearing an A or not, he's still a leader. And he always steps up big. He's a point-a-game guy. And it allows you to move Jamie Shaftsma to wing also. But you've still got him there if you need him at center. So you've got Trevor Cheek, Belisle you can play at center. You've got Perlini. You've got Paul now. You've got Shaftsma now. You're really deep up the center. And that's been a big weakness so far for the Komets. It has been with the injuries, when Perlini got hurt, they were really struggling to figure out who was going to play center and take the faceoffs. They used Mike Embach there a little bit. He did pretty well. I mean, they are deep all of a sudden up the middle, along with being bigger. And that's hard to do. That is really hard to do at the AA level.
Well, with the AA level, I'll take that and go to the next level because you never know who's going to be called up when. Cody Corbett, certainly, I think he's played very well when he's here. He's been a good offensive force as a defenseman. But with him being called up, what does that do to the defensive pairings? How does that change?
Saves you from making a roster move and having to get rid of somebody.
Okay.
And now Randy Cure can come back in. If you notice too, you're starting to see them really solidify the pairings on defense. You've got Cody and Will, who are really playing well together. I mean, it's always been a hard thing to find who's Cody going to play with. Mm-hmm. Well, he's comfortable with Will, and I would not touch that one for the rest of the year if possible. And then you've got Daniels and Geertsen. They've been really good together. And then you've got Southey and, well, he had Cody, but now you'll have Randy probably. And then Harmonic, when he comes back, he'll fit right in there with Justin. So then you're starting to really solidify the defensive pairings, and that's really a good thing. And again, you're bigger. I mean, you're going to be big again. You can grind teams down. It's going to be interesting because Cody, when he comes back, really adds an offensive punch. And when you look at it, they got Southey, they got Daniels, they got Cody. They can all three carry the puck and be your number one offensive defenseman on the power play if you need to, which really gives you some great depth on the power play.
Does that size play into their success on special teams, specifically the penalty kill, or is it a better approach, better personnel in terms of being able to handle that? Because they've got 46 consecutive penalty kills, and this is not the This is, another second-long stretch that we've seen this season. Right. So it's not an aberration. It's something they are consistently doing well, I should say, this season.
It's two things. It's confidence and it's the system, because they've had so many turnover with roster and stuff. You've just been plugging guys in through this. This isn't one set 4 guys that are really tearing it up or 8 guys. This is like 12 to 16 guys they've had to use on the penalty kill, and they've all been playing great. Now, it's Pat Nagle, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's Sean Bonar, who's been playing well in the few times he's had a chance.
Yeah, Mbach hasn't been too bad either.
Right. I mean, it's all those guys, but it's Shaftsma too. It's everybody doing their role. Nobody wants to be on the ice when that streak ends. That 5-on-3, I thought for sure Saturday night. I said to somebody, well, here goes the penalty kill streak. I mean, because you almost had the full 2 minutes for the 5-on-3, and they just were great. I mean, they are really getting to the point where the other teams are thinking too much instead of just playing the power play. We've all seen the Komets do that over the years. But that's how good they are getting right now, is they've got everybody else wondering, okay, what do I do now? They're stopping to think, which plays right into the PK's hands.
Sure, yeah, paralysis by analysis.
Amen.
When you want to talk about a road schedule, we talked about how kind of unique last week's schedule was. This week is a gauntlet. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about 4 road games in 6 days.
Yep.
It starts Tuesday. So what do you want to see from the Komets during this stretch? Because yes, these are games that you want to win, but you also know the big picture as well. You can't just burn guys out on a 3 road game weekend.
Well, and Gary Graham's going to not like hearing this, but the division race is over. I mean, they got 6 points and they got 5 games on Indy. So even if they go 2 and 3, they got 10-point lead. And that's the worst case scenario. Okay, so now is when they need to start looking ahead, and that's another reason why signing Paul is big, because now if somebody else gets called up, you don't lose as much. You still got a really good center there who can, really help you in so many different ways. Because there are going to be guys called up, because San Antonio's on their longest road trip ever this week. The Komets go on their longest road trip ever in March. So both teams are going to be flipping players back and forth. But the key thing about this weekend is just keep grinding. And I think the really biggest game out of all this is Toledo. Because of the way the last one ended, where they got cheated. You know? And cheated, robbed, whatever you want to call it. I mean, with the non-call. I have a feeling they will be remembering that game very, very much. And I kind of wonder if they might be, if they can't be overconfident going into Kalamazoo either, just because they got 6 the last time, you know.
Well, you mentioned the division race really being in the bag, which, they've got 43 games played, and second place Indy's got 48, and there's still a 6-point lead. I mean, that gap is, you're right, that gap is probably too much to overcome, even if a team gets hot. I don't think the Komets are going to let that happen. But Western Conference standings, I mean, they're tied with Utah for second place right now, 56 points. That's important because of home ice advantage in the playoffs.
Well, and you're not going to catch Missouri. Missouri's got, 17-point lead, even though you play them twice.
Yeah, they're 73 points right now.
In Fort Wayne. I mean, those are going to be fun games. But you can't I don't think you can even think about catching Missouri. I think what you do is And this is what he's going to say, and it's going to play a cliche, and it's going to be, yeah, okay, fine. It's boring, but it's true. You really do have to take it one game at a time because their schedule's brutal in the second half. 29 games in 60 days starting tomorrow. And they play Evansville 5 times, and that's the only 5 games that they're going to be a really strong favorite in. They're going to be favored in a lot of them. But anytime you got to play Toledo 4 times. You got to play Missouri twice. You got to play Indy, I think, 4 times. You got to go to that Alaska, Colorado, Rapid City. I don't care what the other team's records are. That's a bear. And then you got to come all the way back and play at Evansville 3 days later. I mean, that is the worst possible road trip.
That's a terrible road trip.
I mean, even just going to Evansville is hard.
That's what I was saying. That's a 5-hour bus trip.
Right, and there's no good way to get there.
No, you just keep going south.
Yeah, I mean, they have a killer schedule, so they really need. These games are kind of important just to keep things rolling.
Well, when you look at the standings as far as the Western Conference goes, I mean, because Allen and Missouri are in the same division, it looks like they're going to be 1 and 4. So the Komets are really battling 2 and 3. That seeding is so important because if the seeds work out like they should in the postseason, you're battling the 2 and 3 seeds. If you have home ice against a 2 seed or against a 3 seed, that's such an advantage.
Well, especially with the
as
travel.
if it was vice versa. Yeah. Especially if you're talking about Utah, you want to have home ice.
Right. And the other thing is there's going to be a slump here. Mm-hmm. There's going to be guys getting hurt. There's going to be call-ups. There's going to be things out of the Komets' control. So, by gosh, when things are healthy right now and you're playing well, you need to win them. You need to keep rolling. Yeah, you really do. Because, I mean, that was November for them. They were hurt. They were called up. They had a patchwork lineup. Now you're healthy. You really need to keep going. And plus, there's going to be, with this lineup this deep, there's going to be a lot of competition to see who's going to play when and who's going to sit. Because there are a lot of really good players right now that could end up sitting. And here's the last one I'll throw out there. The playoff roster, there's going to be guys who've been here all year who ain't going to be on the playoff roster.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
They're going to get 3 more guys or 4 more guys from San Antonio, and they're going to be on the playoff roster.
Oh, San Antonio will make sure that they play.
Yes, and it's going to be some brutal decisions. You look at the moves that they've made so far. Getting Joe Perry, Kashersky was great when he was here. Getting Crowder. I mean, they have really made some nice key moves that have really made them a lot better, along with a lot bigger.
Do you think it's odd that they can add centers with size at this point in the season?
I think it's great that they could add power forwards with size.
Yeah.
You've got Montgomery, who's starting to get it going. You've got Perry, who's really been a nice addition. You're going to get Thompson back sometime eventually. Cheek is not small, and he's kind of a power forward type too. I mean, name another AA team that has this kind of size. It just isn't happening. I mean, they all have it on the back end. They don't have it on the front end.
It reminds me of signing, Sierzinski late in the season.
Right.
Well, Hodgman to a little.
Right.
As big,
Right.
But some height.
Oh, it's amazing how they've done with some late season signings.
Yeah, they find some big guys.
Aaron Clark 2 years ago.
Sure.
Getting Mbach, when they did. They have really pulled the trigger on some nice deals.
Working the phones. That is what the Frankies can do, and Gary Graham does
it's just
as well.
amazing. Once again, a guy leaves, and he's still coming back. How many guys have come back over the years?
Yeah, because he went over there to play with his brother in France, did he not?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But, look at all the guys who've left PC, Chalk, Guy. They always come back. It's like the door's always open, and they always come back happy and rededicated, and they've almost always done really well.
And that's what we'll be looking forward to this week, see if Paul Crowder can fit in seamlessly with the Komets in only just 4 road games this week. Should be interesting.
Let's see how his legs do,
Exactly. Should be interesting. We will talk about it next Monday right here on Inside the Zone.